Right. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Here we are, 2023 Community Health Report, our third one. Alhamdulillah. So, for anyone who doesn't know, every year at Tech Sisters, we do this super comprehensive survey to really measure the health of our community across three different metrics. So, activity, value, and belonging. And the whole point of that is to make sure that Tech Sisters we're living up to our values. We're a community that's really welcoming and it's a place where you feel safe. Our whole mission at Tech Sisters is to be like this really nice sisterhood, this place where you feel at home, where we're having friendships with each other, where our members feel seen and validated. And it's really important to us that we are living that mission and in a very demonstrable way by making sure that we have this place where our members are feeling safe, heard, included, engaged, et cetera, et cetera. So we put out this report, alhamdulillah, and it also is very interesting. We get lots of data into how people are using the activities that we put on, and it gives us lots of insight for what we want to do in the current year. So what will happen at the end of this? Everyone can kind of have the report to read and at their leisure, and then on Thursday, we'll have a brainstorming session where we'll go through the actions that might have come up as a result of this report and then have that as part of our action agenda or our strategy for 2024, inshallah. Okay, so here we are, table of contents. And this is a big word salad, but basically, my name is Grace. If you don't know, I started Tech Sisters in 2019, which means that 2024 is going to be our fifth anniversary, inshallah, in August. Which is really exciting. I never thought that it would actually go on this long, subhanAllah. And the fact that we are really growing and thriving as a community is just amazing, subhanAllah. Um, I think what's really interesting about this year in particular was we had a lot of challenges as a community. I think this is kind of something where we haven't really experienced quite at this level before, but we reached a point where at the administrative and the organizational level, we were actually beyond our capacity. So I don't know if you remember, but after Ramadan this past year, we had a break. We couldn't really do anything. There's no planning. And then when we came back, we had a much narrower focus in our scope of what we were able to put on. So we put a pause on the podcast and the mentor match program because those were two things that had a lot of needed a big investment of time and energy, and it wasn't really paying that back so much with high levels of engagement. And we kind of decided to really have this narrow focus on things that would bring the most value to our members. So we were focusing on the Jobs Search Council and the hackathon and things like that, inshallah. Um, Related to the Job Search Council, this past year, I think most of our members really, or more members than ever before, really struggled with finding jobs. We saw that through the layoffs that happened at the beginning of 2023, a little bit before in 2022. There were lots of hiring freezes, and we all know what happened, alhamdulillah. So we never before have we had so many sisters who really, really needed help with the job search, and it went beyond just needing help with their CVs and interview preps, but there is this level of emotional support that um, really went to the core of what it means to be a tech sister. It's give you that we help on that practical side, but at the same time we're there just like a sister is to help you and to share our difficulties so that you know you're not going through this alone. You have a whole group of other women who are going through the same thing and have come out the other side, inshallah. And of course, I think kind of the biggest pain that we felt as a community is what's happening in Gaza and the ongoing situation there. It's made it difficult, I think, kind of from the planning level at Tech Sisters and from the membership level to kind of articulate what we're feeling and have yeah, inshallah. It's difficult still to say, but this is something it had a big shadow over this year. I think it came through in the survey results as well. So going into the first category was value. And this is measuring if Texasers are getting the benefits that they came here for. We measure this with an NPS, which is the Net Promoter Score. 70 is an extremely good NPS, and that's actually our highest one. So in 2022, our NPS was 56, and in 2021, it was 63. So that means that we started off high, we dipped a little bit, and we came back even higher than before. When I'm going through the comparison metrics, 2021 was our first year that we did this, obviously, but we had a low response rate. So, whoever's into the data analysis, we can just say that has a lower statistical analysis. It's a lower factor than some of the other data that we have, or statistical significance. I know I'm tripping over my words, but alhamdulillah. But anyway, I'm still going to give the comparison because we have 3 years worth of data. It's still worthwhile to say. So yeah, our NPS, highest that we've ever had. 70% of people can easily find the resources that they need, and 77 agreed that the benefits of being a tech sister matches their expectations. And as well, these are the highest that we've seen in both of these. In 2022, this was 60%, and in 2022, this was 70%. So alhamdulillah, we've really increased in both of these areas. And I think this testimonial really captures this, mashallah. The interaction in the community is lovely. Brilliant sisters share lots of their valuable knowledge and useful resources. The amount of help shared is genuinely impressive. Every year we have a beautiful word cloud, alhamdulillah. And this year we have community, career, opportunities, sense, support, and tech as our main ones. The main difference between this and previous years is opportunities and career really grew, which matches what we were observing with more members needing help and support with finding a new job. So yeah, alhamdulillah, and as well, this is kind of matching a lot of what we see from our members and what they need. And then we have a comparison of the NPS benefits and resources that I've mentioned before. And so alhamdulillah, we're on the uptick for all of those. A nice testimonial to close off the section. I believe Tech Sisters is a very valuable community for Muslims, not just Muslim women, but the whole Muslim community, as women are what really builds and strengthens a community. I think any Muslim woman in tech will find benefit from it, whether for their career or networks to enrich their interactions. There's really a lot to get from Tech Sisters. MashaAllah. I'm not able to see the Zoom controls while I'm doing the screen sharing, but I just wanted to ask if everyone could just be on mute because it's a little bit distracting. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so activity. This is where we're measuring exactly what we're putting out. So we always have our newsletter, which is quite good in terms of the response and the open rate that we have. Our average open rate is 48%. So that means that whenever a Tech Sisters newsletter, which comes weekly, enters your inbox, 48% people are likely to open it. And in terms of clicking, we'll have a 5% click rate, and our unsubscribe rate is teeny tiny. It's just like 0.3%, which is fantastic. That's in comparison to the industry average, where the average open rate is 21%. And so you can see our metrics are growing over time. Our click rate has decreased a little bit, but I think that also kind of goes with what people were saying in their feedback from the newsletter, that the content is also shared on Slack and WhatsApp. So it's not necessarily, they don't feel like they have to click on it unless they're of those groups who don't necessarily check Slack or WhatsApp, and then they have the newsletter content available for them. And speaking of Slack and WhatsApp, this year was our first year where we introduced our WhatsApp group. The whole point of that was we were hearing from our feedback and from our metrics that Slack was a little bit too much. If you use Slack at work, you don't really necessarily want to use it at your nights and weekends for your community stuff. You're tired of it. If you don't use Slack for work, you don't really like using Slack. So we heard it was kind of a burden for Slack to be the main hub for some people. And they wanted to have an easier way you can just chat with other Tech Sister members without that supposed barrier. So WhatsApp was a really easy way to test that out. And I think we could see, we have a little bit of analytics here, but just in the first couple of months of using that, the average monthly members. So that means the people who are posting each month. That was 34, and in Slack it was 730. So it's a little bit funny to go through the activity analytics of these different platforms, but it can also go into the stickiness, which is the rate of the daily users divided by the monthly users. It means that whoever is coming in daily would also come in monthly. So it's really a factor and measurement of a repeated use and somebody who's regularly coming back to those platforms. So on Slack, we were at 3% stickiness for this year, and on WhatsApp, it was 1%, which I think makes sense as well. Slack is still our main hub for communication, but WhatsApp is a nice side thing that makes it a little bit easier for people to communicate and talk to each other on that. Okay. The big standout events this year, subhanAllah, were the hackathon and the job search clinic. The vast majority of testimonials that we got back from the survey were hackathon related. It was a huge, huge, huge success, so mashallah. So just a couple of them here. I had an amazing experience joining the hackathon. I learned so much and met amazing sisters in the industry. I loved the whole vibe, mashallah. All the effort that everyone put into their ideas was heartwarming and made me super proud. Excuse me. It was an amazing experience, well organized and with wonderful women. So what made the Texasters Hackathon a little bit different, first of all, this is the first time we did it, so it was kind of an experiment in itself. But we, instead of a weekend-long hackathon, we had it spread over the course of a whole month, and it was also completely online. We did that to make it easier for our audience to be able to fit in the time that they would need to contribute to the hackathon around their other schedules, work and family, etc. And just to make it a little bit easier and more welcoming for people who haven't necessarily done hackathons before and felt the whole concept was they felt a little bit nervous about it. So we split that month up into half of it was for ideation, where you get used to your team, really go through your ideas, break down the problem, and then the other half was for actually building. And subhanAllah, the projects were amazing, mashallah. And I have it linked here in our 2023 project gallery, which also has links to the demo videos for each of the projects. So it's well worth checking out if you haven't seen them before. Our other thing that we did this year, this was really successful, was the job search clinic. Like I was mentioning before, when I was going through the earlier part of this report, job search was a big factor in what our community members were looking for, really struggling with it. We saw it come through in the word cloud. So we got some inspiration from this book called Never Search Alone, where there's a model for having a support group of people who are going through the job search process together. And so we developed this twice weekly job search clinic where you can really drop in, get some advice from other sisters who are going through the whole thing. You can have your CV reviewed. You can go through some mock interview questions, just get some advice on the whole job thing, and just have a place to vent for when you have an interview that didn't go well, or when you're really frustrated by not getting any responses to your applications, or get some advice on what your next steps should be. It's a really, really wholesome place, and I think it's clearly helped a lot of people, inshallah. And yeah, so we can see that from the testimonials as well. I met some great people who are now my friends. The job search clinics were friendly, supportive, and encouraging. Onto this section. Onto this section, belonging. So this is checking to make sure just how well are we making our members feel connected, safe, and included. And again, like I said at the beginning of the call, that's a huge part of Texasters' mission. So really make this a safe place for Muslim women in tech. So 99% of women feel safe in Texasters, 99% feel heard, 90 feel included, 75% are happy with their levels of engagement, and 67% form friendships with other members. Compared to previous years, these are all higher. The engagement level in 2022 was 45%. So there's a huge jump up, subhanAllah, which has a lot to do with the hackathon, judging by the feedback from the survey, which is really, really excellent, subhanAllah. And in 2021, 2021 as well, the engagement was 62%. In terms of making friendships, in both 2022 and 2021, this metric was at around 50%. So finding, and this is also for an online group where we don't really have that many in-person events, for them to be able to form friendships and have these nice lasting relationships while doing this 90% online. It's really, really wholesome, subhanAllah. I feel welcome and accepted as part of the community. Everyone is treated with respect and valued for their individual contributions. The diversity in Tech Sisters is very comforting. Everyone is kind to one another, and there's no trace of any sort of discrimination whatsoever. The courtesy and help here are genuine. Although I don't engage with the group much, I feel as if this is a huge support base I can always go to when in need of help. This also ties in with what people were saying when they were saying they're not able to engage as much. It wasn't, and they would say this through the qualitative feedback in the survey, it wasn't a failing on Tech Sisters, it was more they had things going on in their life that prevented them. So maybe they, from because of their work or their family or their schedule or whatever, they weren't really able to engage as they wanted to, but that wasn't because of Tech Sisters. And this really matches what we've seen in previous years as well. SubhanAllah, our members are busy women, like everyone. Okay, so for demographics, we broke it down a little bit. In terms of the age, most Tech Sister members are in the 23 to 34 age range, with the slight majority being in 23 to 27. For ethnicity, most members are Black African, and we also see a large spread of Asian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Indian, and other. The Black African ethnicity was a big increase in this year, and we've seen a lot of sisters, subhanAllah, join from Nigeria, which is really beautiful, subhanAllah. 51% of members are married and 40% are mothers. And I broke down the languages that we speak in our group. SubhanAllah, it's so many. Earlier in the year, we tried doing a language learner or a language share group to try to distribute some of these, but we have a really rich diversity of languages in our community. I put together a little vignette of a typical Tech Sisters member based on our demographics and other metrics from the survey and what I know from what people will tell me. So meet Fatima. So that's our most common member name, subhanAllah. She's 30 years old. She's Nigerian, but she lives in London now. At first, Fatima wanted to be a doctor, but ultimately realized it wasn't for her. So she did a career change, like so many members in our community. She wanted to have a career where she could make a high impact, but still have flexibility, especially now that she and her husband were considering starting a family soon. Fatima decided to try a bootcamp for full stack developers, again, like many of our community. And now Fatima is working at an exciting health tech company doing the work that she loves. She heard about Tech Sisters from a friend and joined because she wanted to meet other Muslim women on similar journeys. So from our metrics, we have most of our members are full-time employed, but also about a third are unemployed, which again goes back to that idea of the Tech Sisters are really looking for work. We also have 20% are students, which is distinct from this one, so they're actively studying, whereas these unemployed have identified themselves as not being a student, but currently unemployed and looking for work. And we have freelance and part-time as well. The biggest reason for joining Tech Sisters is because a friend has recommended them. Mashallah, we've seen lots of really beautiful patterns of sisters from a specific region joining because their friend have told them about Tech Sisters, which is really beautiful to see that play out. People also come in because of LinkedIn, or they do a Google search about Muslim women in tech, and from our social media on Tech Sisters Instagram. And this is joining from similar groups like Islamic makers or Deen developers or any other of these tech groups, special interest groups. In terms of roles that we have in tech, majority of our members are software developers, going down to data science, designers, product, UX, cybersecurity, QA, founders, business analysts, marketing, DevOps, and architects. And again, we have about 41% are juniors, 23% are mid-level, and 6% are seniors. It's interesting, a lot of people in the feedback feel like it's intimidating to engage with Tech Sisters, but this is those who are kind of saying this is that Slack was a little bit difficult for them, or they felt nervous asking questions, because they felt like it was a group for seniors, for women who are very highly experienced. And really, we're all on this learning journey together, subhanAllah. Um, yeah, it's a very normal thing to see. It's interesting to see it play out and how we have the numbers there. But Texas has kind of the distribution that you might expect from a group like this. Okay. And then wrapping it up, just some cute stuff about us. So most of our members get their best work done during the morning. We're early birds, subhanAllah. We like to have a nice hot cup of tea. We prefer PCs over Mac, and most Tech Sisters prefer coding in Python. And then when things get a little bit too stressed out, Tech Sister members like to relax by watching something or reading, and sometimes we'll take a power nap. And our favorite emojis are these four. So thinking face, dancing woman, laughing with tears, and party. So finally, Alhamdulillah, Tech Sisters has really persevered and thrived this year despite having all those challenges that I mentioned at the outset, which really proves that we have very strong foundations as a community. Alhamdulillah, those foundations have allowed us to grow. We've been able to reach and surpass all of these milestones for our metrics. We've had a very, very strong year, despite having to scale back on our scope and our strategy for the year, which is really interesting, subhanAllah. What's next for next year, inshallah, is really trying to do more with events. So we've made a really good start with this last year in identifying like a nice skeleton pattern and template for our events. And now it's just kind of getting more people involved to make that a regular occurrence, inshallah. So we want to have regular workshops and webinars and even try doing more in-person things together. We also want to do more collaboration. So we've done an excellent job with that with the hackathon. We definitely want to do more hackathons in the future, inshallah. But we also want to find opportunities for smaller and more frequent collaboration projects that you members can do with each other, which is really cool. That was like the biggest feedback from the hackathon, was just how much fun it was for members who didn't know each other to work together and build something that you both care about, to learn these skills and be supportive, and then have these really beautiful friendships afterwards. And then also, for the last thing for next year, is we want to put in place these structures for scalable growth. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I think 2023 kind of showed us our limit for the current capacity, which means that it's going to be difficult for us to continue putting things out here like we would want to. So I think in the future we might want to explore doing some regional chapters, which would be great for those of you in Asia, because we won't always be on UK time zones, subhanAllah, and just going back to that demographic map where we show the whole spread of Tech Sisters, we are completely global. So I think it would really make sense to have some regional ideas where we can have Tech Sisters meet together in the similar country or geography. And also just having these dedicated distributed teams that can help with the administration and organization, help Tech Sisters go to the next level. So the next step for this is we will have a brainstorming session, not on 13th February, but on Thursday, subhanAllah. And that's going to help our action agenda for 2024. I'll share the link with that in the chat and elsewhere on Slack and WhatsApp. And we have our social media, our newsletter, and you can click the link to become a member. And as always, always talk about Tech Sisters to your friends, because that's a major way of how they come in. And thank you so much, everybody, for your support on Tech Sisters. Truly, this wouldn't be able to grow without the contribution of every single one of you, with the administration and the organization, and most importantly, the participation. All the people who post questions to the WhatsApp group, and just make that space something where it's really easy to ask a question and get an answer. That's what makes this community amazing, subhanAllah. So I appreciate all of you. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much. I will stop recording.